Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering 3 of the tanks at tier 10 that are currently available for 450,000 free XP. This video is going to go over the VK7201K, the Nemesis MBT, and the MBT-B as well. I'm going to have videos on the other 6 tier 10s that are currently available for free XP coming up in the coming days, same as the 3 tanks that are currently available for free XP in Cold War. I'm going to split it up so it's nice, manageable chunks of 3 tanks in each video, which means we're probably going to have a double upload on either Sunday or Monday, as these tanks are on sale until the server goes down on Tuesday. And this is probably the best time to pick up any of these vehicles, as they are available for 450,000 free XP, which is about normal, and it's usually quite expensive to get that kind of free XP, but currently they actually have a free XP sale going off, which is one of the best free XP sales they've ever done as well, so that you can actually convert off your free XP and get enough to buy one of these tanks pretty cheaply. As the one thing I always like is these free XP tank sales that they do, so you can pick up a vehicle for 450,000 for XP. I always like those sales because you can manage your discount. So I've got 57,000 for XP sitting on my account currently just from playing. Others might have 100, 150, you know, where they've just got it sitting there. And that means that they can manage their own discount. And that's why I always like those sales as opposed to just gold sales. And if we were to go convert 400,000 for XP now, oh, these things are so difficult to manage. If we were to go convert the 400,000 for XP that I want, so say that's okay, we'll take that because that's as close, otherwise I'm just going to skip over it. 412,000 free XP, that'll knock me over the 450 I need. That's only 10k gold, which means you're basically going to be, or I'd be picking up a tier 10 premium for 10,000 gold, whereas they're normally 17.5 to 22,000 gold, which is absolutely extortionate and never worth buying ever in a million years. But when you're getting it down to about the 10k mark, that's not too bad. And then it's really down to you and whether you like the look of the vehicle and whether it's perfectly alright for you. But it's one of those things that this is probably the best time to pick it up, which is why I like going over these things. And I've had people ask about all of the tanks that are currently available for free XP, so we're just going to go over them all in these videos. So yeah, we're going to start off with the VK7201K and then go to the Nemesis MBT and the MBT-B. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it does help out the channel. And yeah, the VK7201K, it's a pretty old school tank. It's kind of like the Panzer 7. It looks like the Panzer 7, right? But it's slightly different in terms of armour and stuff like that. But it's got the big E100 gun, the 15cm gun, which has 750 alpha, which always has packed a punch. And it's a tank that I've always thoroughly enjoyed playing, even though it's got some significant downsides. So it's got a weird playstyle in the fact that you want to come round corners at this sort of angle, where people will really struggle to pen this at this sort of angle, bait shots off of this, bounce the shot, and then go around and shoot them. Because if you are flat on like that, anything that's tier 9 or 10 will be able to go through this lower plate, especially if they're firing premium. And if you're trying to side scrape it properly, they'll also go through this turret cheek side section here that the Panzer 7 also had a problem with. But they buffed the Panzer 7 recently, and the Panzer 7 is actually really good these days, to be perfectly honest with you, and it's really left this tank behind, which is fine, because it's Tech Tree tank outdoing a premium, that's great. But the poor Panzer 7, sorry, the poor VK7201K sits here going, am I a joke? Because, yeah, the armour gets laughed at far too much for a super heavy tank that's really slow. The one thing that is nice is that slapping gun, but it's a bit derpy. The one pain that people do know about, and it happens on the Panzer 7 as well, is that this gun mantlet is quite easy to pen if you're firing 300 plus pen, even 260, 270 pen. It's got little armour holes on the left and right of the gun, where if you shoot it in this sort of area here, firing 300 plus pen, or here, you can actually go straight through it, which is really frustrating when you're playing this vehicle, because you go, aha, I'm a super heavy, I'm going to bow, everything's penning me, why? It's one of those things. Is it the best tank in the universe? No, it's really not. A lot of people would struggle to play this. I enjoy it because it's that big alpha, derpy, super heavy gameplay that you can get satisfaction out of, but it's not the best tank, the most competitive vehicle at tier 10 these days. It's definitely one of those that's been a little bit left behind, but there we go. So let's get into the equipment and commander skills. So the commander skills for the VK7201K. I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic, and Deadeye. I run Deadeye because it's a big gun, it already has pretty high module damage, so I like, just for the memes, generally, I wouldn't really recommend probably always taking Deadeye. For the memes, I like increasing my chance of doing module damage by 6%, which increases my chances of setting people on fire, damaging ammo racks, that sort of thing. and I run that for the memes. I'd probably more likely say run rapid aim instead to get the turret traverse faster, because it is a super heavy. That turret traverse is pretty slow. Or run something like off-road driving to try and get the ground resistances down, or run clutch braking to be able to turn quicker. It's really down to you and how you want to play the tank. You could also just run armor angling as well and reduce the amount of damage coming into your tank. Since you are a super heavy, you're going to be in people's faces if you can get there, and so you're going to be taking hits, and you want to be reducing the amount of damage coming into your tank if you are getting penned. But yeah, that's what I run in terms of recruit and equipment on the tank. Because yeah, the gun handling is derpy. You want to be running all those gun perks to make sure this gun can be good. And then in terms of equipment, I run the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, and optics. Optics to be able to get the 512 meters of view range so that we can spot for ourselves quite easily. And you might be saying, well, why do you need to get your view range up if you're a heavy tank? You'll be on the front line all the time. Well, that's the point. Especially on a lot of maps, even the front line, there's a big open space between you and where you're fighting. So it's nice to be able to actually spot things that are further back that will spot you really easily. And especially for the more stealthy vehicles, they will be able to fire at you without getting spotted a lot of the time, unless you set up for view range. And if you set up your view range, you'll be able to spot them when they fire a lot, unless they're the super stealthy tanks, like maybe like an E25, right? But that's not going to see that. Or Swedish tank destroyers. But yeah, having that view range is a key asset, and that means that if you're on the front line, you're at the head, at the spearhead, you can actually spot for your team as well and get good assistance damage. It can be very, very handy, and especially it just makes you generally very flexible, no matter what the map is, so that you're not sitting there going, I'm blind, I'm struggling to spot things, and I'm going to go sit at the back of Prokhorovka, right? You know, it's one of those things. You got gun stabilizer to make the accuracy during rotation and movement as good as possible, so this aim circle is staying as low as we can do, so that we can try and snap the shots a little bit easier in it, as this gun is pretty derpy. And the advanced loader to make the best out of the reload, as it is a slower reload, being this 15cm gun. But yeah, that's what I run in terms of crew and equipment on this vehicle. You could drop optics if you wanted to run vents to get a better reload, better accuracy, better DPM, that sort of thing. If you wanted to, it's down to you and how you want to play this vehicle. So let's have a look at the armor of the tank. And like I say, with the armor on it, it's one of those tanks that if people shoot you in this little green patch here with good enough penetration, I'm talking 270 plus, they will go through that, and that can be pain. But you can see it's really, really thick, and if you just want to avoid exposing these little cheek armor plates here, this is one of those things that it'd be great to have an interactive armor viewer so I could show you the actual effective thickness of it. But yeah, try and avoid exposing those plates. The lower plate as well is really, really thick, as you can see, at 230mm, and it is sloped back, which means if they've got about 250 to 260 pen, that's where they'll start to being able to go through it when they are flat on. But when it starts to angle up like this, it can be really, really, really strong, which can be nice for it. And in terms of the modules, that's where the engine bay is on the VK7201K. It's all in the front area, which means if you get shot in that side section here, you will likely get set on fire, as you are a German tank. Ignore the 12% internal fire chance, because it gets set on fire way more than that. And yeah, that's where the engine bays are. And in terms of the ammo racks, that's where the ammo racks are in the VK7201K as well. If you want to pop this thing's lid, just shoot it in that turret ring area here. If you get the side of this thing or the back of it, don't shoot it in the back of the... Well, you could shoot it there in the back of the turret, but shoot it here, and you're very likely to damage its ammo rack as well. So let's get into the statistics of our ugly Christmas sweater, VK7201K. So, we've got a 33km/h top speed, with a 15km/h reverse speed, of 1200 horsepower engine, which is 10 horsepower per ton ratio, which is sluggish and slow. That long and short of it. It's very slow and sluggish. It's a super heavy tank. It's slow to get to the 33km/h top speed. It struggles to get there. It's slow. Okay, it's one of those tanks. You got 12% internal fire chance, which, like I say, is on the low end of fire chances, but it's a German tank, gets shot where the engine is. A lot of the time, it likes getting set on fire, and that feels like a lie a lot of the time, so be careful of that. You got 24 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which means the tank doesn't turn very quickly on its tracks, which is natural. Super heavy tanks do that generally very slowly. Ground resistances at 2.12, 1.1 and 1.01 are not the best, so they can hold it back a little bit, but because your engine power's so bad anyway, your horsepower per ton's so bad, yeah, it generally is still sluggish and slow no matter what, even if you help out the terrain resistances. You've got 512 meters of view range, which is really, really good, and that helps you to spot for yourself very, very easily, and that can be great for the 7201K. You got 19.55 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, which is a lot slower than the tracks, which is why I say you might want to run rapid aim instead of Deadeye to get that to be a bit quicker. 0.35 accuracy during rotation, though, is pretty good. And that makes you go, you know what, I might think about dropping Snapshot for something like rapid aim instead, because that is really, really good, and even if it gets a little bit worse without taking Snapshot, you're not really going to notice it that badly. So that's something you could drop as well. You could drop Snapshot, because that 0.35 accuracy during rotation is really good. And a 1.58 accuracy during movement, that's actually pretty good as a pair for a super heavy like this, meaning the aim circle isn't too large, and you can hit shots quite effectively, and you don't have to wait too long for the aim circle to get lower. But you do have a 2.67 second aim time, which is quite slow, and it's one of those things that you will feel when you are waiting for this tank to aim in. If the aim circle does bloom out and you make it worse, you don't take the gun stabilizer or any of the gun perks, that aim circle will become rather large, and you will feel that aim time, which is pretty poor. You have 7 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle, which is alright. It's not bad, it's not good, it's okay. Means, especially with having a rear-mounted turret, it can be a little bit awkward on a ridgeline, so it's something to be careful of. 0.32 accuracy at 100 meters, again, it's pretty good in terms of the accuracy, but with the way this gun is, it can be pretty derpy. A lot of that is actually down to the shell velocity, to be honest, but there you go. 14.9 second reload, or 14.59 second reload, sorry, is 3083 DPM, which is okay for this 750 Alpha. With 246 penetration on the standard AP, it's a little bit low for standard penetration on a tier 10. 334 penetration on the heat rounds, now that's fantastic, and will butcher everything. 85mm of penetration on the HE rounds is also pretty good for lightly armoured vehicles, as you'll have 950 Alpha, and that will slap, especially when you fire those at artillery. That is very, very nice. You've got 757 meters a second shot velocity on the standard AP, with 606 meters a second shot velocity on the premium heat rounds. Now, this is way below average, and it is very, very slow shell velocity. It is pretty poor, meaning you have to give a lot of lead, especially at distance, to be able to hit your targets. And this is part of what makes this gun exceptionally, well, feel exceptionally derpy, is the fact that the shell velocity is really not that good. So it's something you've got to bear in mind with the VK7201K, that, yeah, that is not great shell velocity, and you have to give a lot of lead. And naturally, as it is a tier 10 premium, you don't really get any bonuses whatsoever. But yeah, that's the VK7201K. What I'm going to do now is send you into 2 replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not. And then we'll go on to the Nemesis and the MBT-B. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the VK7201K, and we're on El Haloof. And what we want to do is go to this corner here at B2A12 area so that we can go brawling, keep slapping out rounds with this 15cm gun. But from this little ridgeline, 7 degrees of gun depression can be a bit awkward, and especially since we've got the back-mounted turret. But if I poke out on the right-hand side of the ridgeline, I can poke round, shoot people as they poke the corner at DC1, and we can only expose our turret. But as we come over, they are pushing very aggressively. There's a Minotauro in front of us, the Chaug. I saw the Minotauro and decided, okay, I'm loading heat, because I'm not going to pen a Minotaur very easily with 246 pen, but the heat rounds might do it. They might go through that cupola. But as we did that, a Chaug load. And I sat there going, I should have just kept the AP. I could have quite easily penned this guy with that. Not quite sure what Mr. Chaug is doing, but there we go. The Minotauro starts coming over. We really want to punish this guy if we can. So we put a shot straight through his lower plate for 803. There's a Chieftain on the right that we've also got to look out. But the Minotauro is coming over to try and get shot. So we really have to focus this guy out if we can, as he is dangerous if he stays hull down. But he's just sitting there going, hello, I have a lower plate. You can shoot me in that lower plate. So we're just going to focus out Mr. Italian TD. And then we can focus on everything that's on our right. And that way, we're not stuck in a crossfire. So he's making all the wrong decisions. He was playing way too aggressively, and thankfully we managed to shut him down. And now we can go and focus on both of these 2 British tier 10 heavy tanks that are in front of us in the Super Conqueror and the Chieftain. We've got to wait for our reload and then make sure that we poke around this corner in the right way, because we could end up having situations where we end up not going over correctly and have bumps up in our gun depression. So we put a shot towards the side of the Super Conky Donkey's turret, but Super Conky Donkey moved forward and our shot went, you know what, I'm going to derp. So we're waiting for our reload. and then we can go after him. But as we're doing that, the Tiger 2 decides to drive around. Hello, Mr. Tiger 2. So we put a shot through his lower plate, putting him down to a one-shot, and we just got to sit and wait for the reload, which is a long reload, as it is 750 alpha. Naturally, you've got to expect this, that if you're going to have a big honking gun, your reload is going to be a little bit slow. And 3k DPM is slow DPM, but, you know, you make up for it with the alpha. So we put a shot through the side of the Super Conqueror there, killing him, putting us onto 3.8k damage, and then we noticed the 4005, and I go, that's 183 millimeters of pain. I don't want 183 millimeters of pain. Trust me, when you get 183 millimeters of pain in the places that you don't want to know about, it really hurts. Okay, don't ask how I know. No, don't. Okay. So, we're going to go push Mr. 183mm 4005. We've got the HE loaded so we can hit for that 950 alpha. And hello, Mr. 4005. I'm just going to chance it, take the hit him for 965. He doesn't actually shoot us, though. So we can just wait here, wait for our reload. I think, you know what, I'm going to poke. See, if he shoots me, then our team might be able to get after him. But in fact, he shot us with Hesh. He didn't fire AP. He shot us with Hesh. And that meant he hit me on the side, splashed me, but then splashed the MBT-B next to me and ended up killing him. That is really unfortunate that that happened for that guy, but there we go. We're up to 4.8k damage with 964 assistance, 2 kills, and there's only 3 tanks left on the enemy team. The 2 tank destroyers up at K4. We get spotted by the Marat, aim the shot up, tracks only. Because the shot went, we aimed a little bit poorly there and shot a little bit too far to the left, which meant we hit his tracks, and then it derped even more to the left and made sure that we were hitting that tracks. We aim up the shot towards that Panzerknacker. No, it flies above him. This is where the poorer accuracy and shell velocity is really starting to hit home for us in our VK7201K. It can be really irritating at times with how derpy this gun can be, but if you've played the E100, you'll know all about that, because it's the same gun. So if you played this gun on the E100, you know exactly how it handles, and it can be a bit frustrating at times. But there we go. We finished that first game there on El Haloof with a pretty decent total there. We finished with the victory. Top of the team with 2 kills, 4.8k damage, 1416 base XP with a 1300 assistance damage as well. The first class and the 1416 base XP, which is a pretty decent game there for the VK7201K. And it just showed it going through the motions, to be fair. Saw a bit of the bad gun handling, especially when you end up at range. But the fact is you can keep chunking out with it, and as long as you keep your armor in a nice angle, you can bounce a lot. And if people don't know about that gun mantlet problem, then you can have a pretty good time. But the problem is, if people do know about that gun mantlet problem, they just tend to absolutely massacre you, which can be super frustrating. But there we go. So we're on to the second replay for the VK7201K, and we're on Safe Haven. And what I want to do on Safe Haven is go to the brawly little location here in the middle at E5, because I can go into this tunnel, go side scrape, go expose anywhere I want to on my tank, and then be able to just keep the gun chunking, because that's what you want to be doing. You want to keep those 750 alpha rounds chunking out and just keep the damage consistently flowing. So we drive around the corner, find Mr. Paladin, aim the shot up, put the shot straight through his drive wheel, which tracks and pens him there for 713. And I'm just going to keep myself wiggling, so it's not easy for him to be able to pen us. But to be honest, it's a Paladin. I'm not particularly worried about him. We put another shot straight through for 714 again. 2 of those rolls? I mean, I have 750 alpha game. It would have been nice to have been able to kill him. But there we go. We're up to 1427 damage. We went for the shot in the lower plate, the E100. We hit the tracks of the Chaug. Didn't pen. The E100 went, I have heat loaded. Lol. Straight through the lower plate. So we go, okay, I'm loading heat too. Let's see how you like it. So we put the shot through his lower plate there for 706, because 246mm of penetration, again, is a little bit low. And against an angled E100 lower plate, it could conceivably bounce. And if he's firing heat, he's just going to go through me every time. And I don't want that. Whereas if we get the shots through the lower plate just like that, it makes it easier for people like our Rogel Dawn to shut him down, because we lower his hit points. And we're up to nearly 3k damage. We're just keeping our eye on the Chaug and the E75 to see what they're doing, just in case they decide to poke out, just like that, as we put a shot with heat straight through the lower plate of Mr. Chaug, putting us up to 3.7k damage. keeping an eye on what else is going off everywhere else, but it can be a bit deceiving here on Safe Haven when you're in this tunnel, because even though you can see people are spotted and you can see the names and the tanks and stuff, they actually are probably not even in a position where they're shooting or can get a shot at you. They're actually either in the other section of the tunnel down the 7 line, or more likely, like the heavy tank is, actually above us. So we got a shot into the E75's lower plate. I'm just trying to bait the shot from the Chow, which we managed to get. Put the shot towards his lower plate, but the shot goes high, hits the upper plate and bounces. And with AP on this tank, 246, we should go through the lower plate of a Chow unless it's extremely angled. And so we're just hoping that he does give us enough. But he gets unspotted. And I thought he was trying to bait us out to shoot him. So it was a bit weird. I thought I should have kept him lit up there, but apparently not. He does give us enough of his lower plate, but the shot actually goes a little bit high again and hits closer to the upper plate, which bounces. We have to hit it in the center of that lower plate or lower to be able to pen it, so we can do it. But I was thinking, okay, have I got any cover? No, actually, I've got no cover left. So we go for the shot into the lower plate of the Chow, but the gun, like I say, the gun is so derpy at times. Straight underneath him when we had it dead to rights, the Chow starts YOLO rushing us, but he's making the mistake. He's face-hugging us. Now, he can shoot us in the gun mantlet, which can be a bad time, but we've got heat loaded. So we can put the heat straight through his little cupola-y type thing. He's trying to get around us, which is doing the right thing. He bounces off our side armor, and as long as I can keep him in a position where I can quite easily get shots through that little cupola section, because I am a tall tank, which makes it an easy shot. But with 334 heat pen, I can also go through the Chow's turret ring quite easily too. And that's exactly what we did, putting us up to 6,049 damage. We start getting shot by the other heavy tank that's come in, but now we've bounced the Chow, we can get rid of him, put the shot straight through, repair our tracks with the repair kit, get our armor on target towards this paladin, who actually ends up getting shot down by the Scorpion. And that was just a nice little brawl that we had there in our VK7201K. And we're up to 6.3k damage with 47 assistance. And again, you saw the armor. People fire premium, they go through the lower plate. They can go through that side cheek section as well if they're firing standard or premium, which can be a bit irritating. The gun can be derpy, but if you manage to get going with it and just keep consistently chonking out the rounds and use your armor effectively, you can have such a nice time. You can have a lot of fun in the VK7201K. So we get the RBRT on, ready to fire the moment we're loaded, but sadly for me, Mr. Conqueror shuts down the E75, meaning there's only one tank left on the enemy team, and it is a tank destroyer, who was last spotted towards this area at BC9 in that general direction, because I think they were up at A9 in the little TD spot. So we're just going to trundle our way over there, and it realistically is the only place they can be. They can only be along this 9-0 line because of where our heavy tank is at G9 and where we've got the domination of the centre. So we just want to keep moving, and there we go. The TD gets spotted. It's a full health 268 version 5. Nom 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 nom. We'll take that if we can get there, as there is a Pantera and a T249 Black. Now the T249 Black can pen the 268 version 5 in the rear if he gets it flat, and the Pantera can pen him as well. But he's not going to take all of his hit points. But the Batchat 25 TAP's also getting there. I'm like, no! Leave some for VK! German needs his damage! And there we go. We get the shot into the 268 version 5 to secure our third kill of the game. Not much extra damage there, but we'll take it. Finish with the victory. 3 kills, 6.5k damage, 2.2k blocked. The first class, the high caliber, the sniper medal. And yeah, it's the VK7201K. Not the best tank in the universe. You can have fun with it, and it does chonk. So here we are with the next tank, and it is the Nemesis main battle tank, the Nemesis MBT. It's the other tier 10 Nemesis vehicle that you don't see that often, although I've seen quite a few of them since it's been available for free XP. And it is what you would call a heavium. It's very much plays in the style of a slower medium tank. Why is that? Well, generally, it's because the hull armor isn't that great. The lower plate easily gets penned. A lot of premium rounds from tier 9 and 10 will go through the upper plate, which can be annoying. You've got a cupola on top, which can be a pain and people can pen quite easily as well. But the turret armor in general on this vehicle is pretty decent and will bounce you a good amount. You've got a very good gun with pretty damn good DPM. And at 50 kilometers an hour, which you'll get there just about, it's pretty average medium tank mobility as well. It's basically a medium tank as opposed to being a heavy tank. It's it's a medium tank in heavy tank clothing, right? That's what it is. So you want to play it like the heavy tank, or the heavium style of gameplay, where you're not brawling, you're supporting, go to those hull down locations, and fire away with what is a very, very nice gun, and that's where you'll get the most out of this vehicle. Back when it first released, it was really not that good, and then they buffed it a week later, and it made it to the point where it's like, yeah, it's pretty balanced. It's just a pretty balanced tank. That's what it is. That's what this Nemesis MBT is. It's a pretty decent heavy tank. It's pretty balanced, and you can have fun with it. It will struggle in certain situations, but that's what balanced tanks do. So, in terms of the crew on Mr. Nemesis MBT, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, with Run and Gun, and Rapid Aim. Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better, as the turret traverse is a little bit slower than the tracks, so it's nice to be able to get that turret traverse faster. As you all know by now with me, I get irritated when the turret traverse is slower than the tracks, so I like to help it if I can. Again, you could help it out with other things like off-road driving, or rapid aim, or clutch braking to make the track traverse better, or again, arm wrangling to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank. It's down to you and how you want to play this vehicle. All 3 gun perks to make sure this gun is as good as possible, so I can hit as many shots as possible and make the most out of the DPM on this tank. With Track Mechanic, because again, I do tend to get myself stuck in a little bit, and it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on quicker, especially if I've had them blown off and I've already used my repair kit. And then in terms of the equipment for this vehicle, I run the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, and Optics. Optics to be able to get the 512 meters of view range, and especially when I'm going to the aggressive ridgeline locations, it means I can get some really good spotting damage out, depending on the game as well. Gun Stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, so that this gun is always ready to snap shots. And the Advanced Loader to make the best out of the DPM, as that's always what you want to be doing with the heavy tanks. Again, you could, if you wanted to, drop the Gun Stabilizer to run Traction System to go at 55, although you would struggle a little bit to get to 55. It's not, again, it's a little bit sluggish, so you might want to run the Powertrain instead, just to give it that extra oomph in the engine. You could also run the Vents instead of the Gun Stabilizer to get everything about the tank better in general, so it would affect the accuracy during rotation and movement a little bit as well. And so you get that little bit of an effect, but also making DPM and stuff better. It's really down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. It's always down to how you feel comfortable with it. And then, like I say, with the Nemesis MBT, you've got the armor on it, which you've got to be careful of this section here. And if you're not using your gun depression and people fire premium at that section there, they can go through your turret front on flat, so be careful of that. But if you're using your full gun depression, that can be very, very good. You've got to be careful, though, of the cupola on top, as that cupola on top generally is pretty weak, and especially if people are slightly shooting down on it, they'll go through it most of the time, and that can be a frustrating point for the Nemesis MBT. It's just how big and easy that cupola is to hit. But you do have, in terms of the side armor, you have, if we get there eventually through the thicknesses, when we get there, what do we have in terms of side armor? We've got 39mm on the lower section, so you've got to be careful of that bar, because 120mm guns will go through that and overmatch that, so be very, very careful of it. But if they do end up side scraping it out, because of the slant and 100mm thickness on the top section of the side armor, you can actually side scrape in this vehicle and ricochet shots. You just got to be careful that they don't find the shot into that lower bar that you've just seen there, as if you feel like you're bouncing quite a lot by side scraping, then all of a sudden things are penning you, it's probably because they're hitting your section here that you can see through the tracks. So be careful of that with this vehicle. But if you're shooting against it, like I say, you want to be shooting it through this lower plate, or shooting it in this cupola here, and you'll have an easy time taking it out in those regards. And then in terms of the modules, that's where the engine bay is for the vehicle. You've got 15% internal fire chance, and yeah, it's in the middle of fire chances. It does like getting set on fire in that engine bay section. And that is where the ammo racks are on this vehicle. And trust me, this thing likes getting its lid popped. It really does. If a big gun goes through that right-hand section of your lower plate, upper plate, they will likely pop your lid. E4s, E3s, Jagdpanzers, VK7201Ks, all that sort of stuff. You know, with the big guns, big alpha, they will go through that upper plate, they will pop your lid. So that can be really annoying for Mr. 110mm Nemesis MBT, but there you go. And that's where the crew sits in this tank. So in terms of the statistics for the Nemesis MBT, you got 50km/h top speed with a 16km/h reverse speed, 650 horsepower engine is 16.21 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you will get to the 50 kilometers an hour top speed, but you're just a little bit sluggish getting there at times. So bear with it to get there, which is why I say you're more likely to run the powertrain instead of the traction system to be able to get the slightly better engine power to be able to hit that top speed. You've got 38 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which means it does turn fairly quickly on its tracks, which is nice. And again, it feels more medium tanky in that way. 212 on soft, 1.01 on medium, and 0.92 on firm means it can feel a little bit more sluggish depending on the terrain resistance or the terrain you're on, which is why you might want to run off-road driving just to help the terrain resistances out a little bit and try and stave off the sluggishness that you might feel in terms of the top speed. You got 512 meters of view range, which is really good again for spotting out for yourself in this Nemesis MBT. You will be able to get some really good assistance damage depending on where you are. You've actually got 362 meters of still concealment as well, which for a heavy tank is pretty good. You're not going to be relying on that camo, but it's pretty good for a heavy tank, but there we go. 36.49 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed is slower than the tracks again, which is why I run rapid aim, just to help that turret traverse out. But it's still not too terrible, and it does turn pretty quickly on the turret. 0.37 accuracy during rotation, again, is absolutely fantastic. With a 1.84 accuracy during movement, it means the aim circle doesn't bloom out too badly, and you don't feel that 2.3 second aim time all that much, unless you take off the gun stabilizer. If you take off the gun stabilizer, that's where you really start to feel the aim time, as it takes a wee bit to get that gun aimed in, which is why I run it instead of running stuff like the powertrain. Because the gun can just be a little bit annoying in that regard if you don't. But again, you could just drop Snapshot, because that accuracy during rotation is fantastic. You could drop Snapshot to be able to run something like off-road driving again, or armor angling, something like that. It's really down to you and how you want to play the tank. 10 degrees of gun depression, as is pretty common for British tanks, and that means you are very, very flexible on a ridgeline. Absolutely fantastic. Makes you be able to play that hull-down warrior mode pretty easily. 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters means you are fairly accurate as well with this 110mm gun, which is a weird one to have. Not many tanks have a 110mm gun, so that's something that the Nemesis has. 0.31 accuracy at 100 meters, like I say, is fairly accurate. 7.15 second reload is 3.5k DPM, which for 420 alpha isn't terrible. It's actually pretty good, to be fair. It's just that some tanks are overbuffed up to 3.94k, but 3.5k is pretty decent DPM for this kind of tank. 254 penetration on the standard AP, 310mm of penetration on the premium APCR, and 90mm of penetration on the standard HE. The 90mm of penetration on the HE for 530 alpha is really nice. Again, utilise that against artillery and some of the lightly armoured light tanks as well. You can take the mick out of with that HE, and it can be very, very nice. But just pick and choose your targets with that. As for your penetration at standard, the 254 is really nice. 310 is pretty good as well. You really will have to hit the right spot on some of the super heavies, but that's okay. You've got 420 alpha, like I say, which is a bit unusual for saying you've got a 110mm gun, because usually 120s have 400, so yeah, a bit odd, but there you go. 420 is still quite good, though, for the Nemesis. 1375 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP is really good for an AP round, like really good for an AP round, and means you don't have to leave targets too much. And 1420 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR is also pretty damn good, and will make the gun handling on this tank feel really, really nice. But note, if you load the HE at 1050 meters a second shell velocity, which isn't actually bad at all for HE, you will feel the difference between firing the other two rounds, so be careful of that. And as you are a tier 10 premium, again, you don't really have the best bonuses. So yeah, that's something that goes against it. But there we go. That's the Nemesis MBT in terms of statistics. That's what I run in terms of recruit and equipment. Like I say, it can be a pretty fun tank to play. It can also be pretty frustrating at times as well, but it's just a fairly balanced tank, if we're honest. So what I'm going to do now is show you the two replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Nemesis MBT, and we are on this map, which is Mountain Pass. And in the Nemesis, we have a pretty good top speed, as you see, in 46, 47, 48. We do get there in the end, and we're just trying to get across this gap as quickly as possible so we can get to our little hull down spot right here at H45, because then we can shoot across the way at anything that gets spotted at ED3, and then we can poke around the corner and shoot things as they push the 1-2 line as well. So we end up seeing the E75 and we do spot him up, but artillery is looking at us. E75? No, it's a Tiger 2. Get your tank designate. It's right in front of your face, you moron. How did you get that wrong? It's a Tiger 2. They do look fairly similar, but there we go. We go for the shot into the side of the Tiger 2. It hits the turret roof and bounces. Occasionally, which can be a bit annoying with the MBT-B, is this gun occasionally feels a bit derpy. Even though the statistics of it are pretty good, you sit there going, how did that go that little bit higher and miss? Come on, RNG, just behave. But we did manage to get the shot into the side of the Tiger 2's turret, which is okay. We're up to 375 damage, and I decided to turn around now because I don't really want to poke that corner anymore because things are definitely looking our way, and I don't want to get arted. So we see the 268 version 5. We go for the shot into the side of him, but I know we're a bit on the move, but it drops low and hits the ridge line, which is a bit annoying. But like I say, this tank can be like that. It just goes, you know what? I like that patch of dirt there, and I'm going to hit it. And you sit there going, why? Why, Nemesis? Why did you do this? But there we go. So, the 268 version 5 fires. We know we've got good DPM, so we can put at least 2 shots into him before he's going to fire. So we're going to take every advantage we can. If we could track him there, that's brilliant, which we do. Means he's burnt his repair kit, fantastic. And we're just now going to go in and charge him, because we know there's a tank around this corner, but he's actually pushed in. So if we can get the gun on target and try and finish this guy off, which we do, we shut down Mr. 268 version 5 there with a shot, getting rid of a pretty deadly tank destroyer, and we're now up behind Mr. Mouse. Hello, Mr. Mousey. Cruelty to small animals, it's what we're here, it's what we're all about here with the Nemesis MBT, because we need to show those small animals who are boss. Yes, Mr. German super heavy tank, get out of the game. We're up to 2.3k damage with a kill, and we see the tank that's coming across the bridge. So there is a tank at D5, and I think, okay, perfect. I don't really like pushing up the 2 line, because it's quite easy to get shot by campers at C3, and if anyone sits on the corner at C4 as well, they can derail that push, which can be super duper frustrating. So I always find it easier to actually push back to a position like H34 and then push where the heavy tank is currently at F3. So the 60 TP ends up finally going across the bridge. We put 1 shot in, pull back into a position where we're only exposing our turret. Hopefully get another shot in. We do. We get the tracking shot and the pen there. Glorious scenes. Up to 3,070 damage. Looking for maybe a cheeky shot into his turret roof, which ricochets. Was never really likely to go in, but we like to chance it, you know. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. He gives his side armor again. We get the shot in that tracks him in place. I was kind of hoping he might get shut down by my heavy tank, but he ends up just tracking it or doing track damage. But his tracks get repaired and he manages to pull back. He actually fired Hey Chi at us, which did about 300 damage. Well, cheeky bugger. So, we know there's a 60 TP above. We know there's a TD back at C2. We know there's a heavy tank on the road at A34. But we see the 2 TDs at D8. And I decide, okay, I'm going to use my mobility, which, as you can see, we're going at about 48 kilometers an hour, to get up behind these TDs and shoot them in the behind and get some free damage while they're distracted with our team. Jagdpanzer 100 is still pretty healthy, which is good. And we should be able to go through him because we'll be able to get his rear. So we get up behind him, go for the shot. And instead of hitting the back of the Jagdpanzer 100, we end up hitting the side and we bounce. Going for that shot there into the drive wheel so we could try and track and pen him. But we hit our teammate, which means we don't do any damage. And we basically, that was just a poor shot, but we basically missed out on all of the damage on that Jagdpanzer with 2 very unfortunate shots and 1 very poor shot, realistically. I mean, there's only 2 tanks left on the enemy team, Mr. Panzerjäger in front of us and the artillery. So I'm going to load HE because, again, I've got 90mm of penetration. I should be able to go through what is essentially a chaffy hull with 90mm of penetration and hit him for 530. Or I could go through the turret front as long as I avoid the gun manlet as well. And we can get after the artillery and pen that for 530 as well. So we go for the shot into the back of the Panzerjäger. And it goes above him. Thank you, Nemesis. Glorious scenes. RNG just laughing at us. But now we're behind the T92 HMC, which we should hopefully be able to hit for 530, pushing us up to nearly 4k. So we get up, make sure we're going to hit the shot, hit him for 531, literally 1 over Alpha, that's nice. And we'll put ourselves onto 4,029 damage. We'll finish with the epic victory. a fairly average game, realistically, for a tier 10 tank there for the Nemesis MBT with that 4,000 damage. And it showed, again, the good and the bad of the vehicle, realistically, there. With the pretty decent mobility, we can get up and down pretty quickly. The gun handling occasionally is a bit derpy. We finished with that third class there, but the DPM can be good, but the gun handling can just let it down so often. You sit there going, but why? Why did we miss those shots? You are an accurate gun. How did you miss? And the Nemesis does that far too often, which can be just really annoying. But then you hit the stupidly good shots as well that you sit there going, how did I hit that? It's one of those kind of guns. So we're on to the second replay. And we're here on Live Oaks. And on Live Oaks, you want to be doing dip or die. Dip or die, especially from our spawn. Because if you get that spawn and you sit back in the dip at G0, you give up the flank and you quite easily die. And the reason for that is you can get stuck in a crossfire very, very easily. So you want to get into the dip at H8, H9, and just go hull down there. And you can quite easily get shots into people as they push across to the position at J8. But a decent amount of people got spotted at E2, and when I poked over that ridgeline, I didn't spot anything. So I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going super duper aggressive. I'm going to go super duper aggressive and push the tempo. This Rogel Dawn decides to poke straight over, so we put one shot through the side there. Going to look for a shot into his back drive wheel so we can try and track him. But we don't track him or pen him. I'm sitting there going, okay. So he gets tracked, we go for that shot again. No tracking damage or pens. Okay, whatever you say. And he gets shut down by the IS-4. Bit of poor choice of shot. I should have just shot him straight in the side and guaranteed myself the damage, essentially. But we didn't, and we tried to track and pen him, tried to be clever, and we failed for it. We're up to 858 damage, and we're already advancing towards their base, which I'm expecting a lot of their tanks to be in the place you fully expect them to be, and that is E2, E3, and I fully expect that they're not expecting us to be here yet, so we should be able to spot a decent amount of them and get some free shots. So we're gonna poke over, see if we can get a cheeky shot into the Ruthless. I am detected, so I've been a bit careful not to take an unnecessary shot. But we put a shot into the Turan there as he's pulling back. We are spotting these guys, so we're getting assistance damage as well. And I'm going to maneuver myself into a better position on this ridgeline. Because to be honest, where I was there, I was having to overexpose too much. Whereas if I go to this little section I'm here at on this ridgeline, English is hard, okay, don't grammar me. This little position here on this ridge, we can actually get better gun depression and not expose ourselves too much. We've also got shots into the side of Mr. BZ68. So we put a shot into the side of the BZ68, which has alerted to him the fact that we're here, which is not good. But if he stays sideways on like that, we'll quite happily put a shot in. If we can finish him off now, that would be great, because I am going to be worried a lot of the time about getting shot in the side of the turret by Mr. BZ68 over there, if I try and poke to shoot people like Turan, like 268 version 5, and whatever else was on that little hill, or the Ruthless as well. We're seeing shots fly on our left, so I'm going to poke over again to try and see if I can spot things. I can't really, but we see the 268 version 5, and it doesn't track him or pen him. What is this? Come on, RNG, let me in. We go for the shot into the BZ68, and it drops low and doesn't hit him either. We could have really done with getting rid of that guy. We see a T57 Heavy, which we have the tippy top of his turret, and we ricochet. We have to really hit the cupola of that man, or the flat part of his cheeks to be able to pen him, which is what we're trying to aim for now on Mr. T57 Heavy tank. The Valor in front of me is not in a very wise position, because he is going to start taking plenty of hits from that T57 Heavy. And anything else that, like the BZ68 over there, he wants to be back where I am, because that means I can stay unspotted, but I can also get safe and stay hulled down from these guys, meaning they can only shoot my turret. So this is where the gun is behaving. We've managed to get 2 shots currently into that cupola of that T57 Heavy. Still aiming for those shots, but unfortunately that second shot didn't go anywhere near. The BZ68 is currently spotted, but actually behind the houses, so we can't find any shots into that guy, which is sad times, but there we go. The T57 Heavy has got himself unspotted, and the Valor is currently spotted. We see where the shots are flying in from, so I tried to blind fire it, but we didn't quite find it. Waiting on the reload to try and again get the shot in, but we ricochet off the top of the turret, because we hit the right-hand side and not the left where the cupola is, and like I say, you really have to hit the right spot to be able to pen it in that turret. We get spotted again and detected, and I'm thinking, was that just something sat in that bush? Because it has happened to me before. that there is something like a Tyran sat in that bush and I just couldn't see it, but he could spot me. So I popped a blind fire to see if I could hit it, because again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And we didn't hit anything and nothing shot at us. It's quite likely that we actually got spotted by something along the FG position at the 1 line. So that T-57 Heavy gets spotted again. This game is all about, this is what is all about key patience. To be fair, patience is key in this game. And this game is all about showing the payoff of having patience. Not being too aggressive, not pushing too soon, waiting for the enemy to make the mistake, and then punishing them for it. Although we're not really punishing the T-57 Heavy too much right now, as we are currently bouncing repeatedly off said turret of T-57 Heavy. So I decided to pop a blind shot at the side of that building. Why? Because the BZ-68 could be there. And again, if I get rid of Mr. BZ-68, that would be good, because that's one less gun on my right shooting at me, and it means I can push up into the dip at E3, and then try to get shots into the guys that might be at G1-2, or then try and get the guys that might be camping behind the ridge at E2. It's all about thinking about what I'm going to be doing next, because I really want to get into that dip at E3. That is my next play, to try and spot people out, and try and push the tempo, and try and give my guys, my heavy tanks behind me, something to be shooting at. But in fact, we actually spotted the Tyran as he poked over the ridge, and we got 2 and a bit K assistance in the end from spotting that guy. We're now making the aggressive push play into the next dip, which is where I want to be. Because again, I can stay hull down, I can get cover from the people like the T-57 Heavy and the BZ-68, but then I can start to try and spot the people at E2 and try and get shots into the guys also at G2. So we find the T-57 Heavy, and he is the key to destroy. We have to get rid of Mr. T-57 Heavy, because that way I'm not going to be getting shot in the side. The BZ-68 ends up pushing out, which gives us a free shot into him. Glorious scene, so we get rid of that Chinese tier 9 heavy tank. We're detected as we started to push over, and I'm thinking, what is that? And in fact, it was probably the Conqueror, just about getting a shot at the side of our turret. So I'm going to push closer to this little building so that he can't quite see us with any shots, and we can get over and try and find the T-57 Heavy. But in fact, we find the Teeth Breaker. So we put a shot into the Teeth Breaker. Gonna see if we can get a shot now into the T-57 Heavy. I decided to take the hit to shut him down, because I've still got full hit points. I may as well take the hit from the T-57 Heavy, guaranteeing he drives out, giving me a better shot, and that way I can put the shot guaranteed through the side of his turret, finishing him off. And then the Gorilla 15 also pulls out and gives us a shot, so we finish him off as well. Great! We're up to 4 kills with 5.4k damage. We've got 268 version 5 directly in front of us. We're at 2.5k assistance as well. If we can get rid of the 268 version 5, then we can poke over the ridge in front to get shots at the guys in the dip. So we put a shot into the version 5. He bounces a heat round, so we're going to go around to try and finish him off. But then, oh no, that's a ruthless. I don't want 183mm of pain. Please don't do it. So I'm going to poke over, try and get some cheeky shots in. I'm not going to give him an easy shot. I'm going to make it as hard as possible and just keep trying to snap the shots into his upper plate, which we do, getting rid of the threat of that guy. And you know what? He can put a shot into me, this 268 version 5, because now I can guarantee the kill, securing our 6th kill of this game and up to 6.9k damage with 2.5k assist. Poke over the ridge, which is where we wanted to be now. Put a shot into the side of the Conqueror, and this is why we wanted to be in this position, so we could get above the guys in the dip and get rid of him. Put the shot through the turret roof there, and there's only one tank left on the team. It is Mr. WZ-120. We've loaded HE. We're trying to leverage a better position. I'm like, oh no, that's a Tyran in front of me. No, I don't want to block him. Unfortunately for me, though, Mr. WZ-120 doesn't poke up, and that means we can't HE him in the side of the turret and secure our 8th kill of this game. But we do get 7 kills, the 7.3k damage, 2.5k assistance damage, the Ace Tanker Devastator Top Gun, the high caliber, with that 1968 base XP. A really great game there for the Nemesis MBT, showing off what it's all about. So here we are with the one tank that most people will know about, because a lot of people picked it up for free when it was part of the 10-year anniversary, was it? And that is the MBT-B, which is a tank that is pretty damn solid. To be honest, I thought it was a fairly average premium heavy tank when it first came out, and then it got buffed not long after when everybody played it, essentially. And now it's just a pretty damn solid heavy tank. It's one that is very, very fun to play for me. I really enjoy this tank. The only downside to it for me is the fact that when you play it, people will fire premium rounds, even standard rounds, go through the little section here that's a fake little machine gun, and they'll damage your ammo rack. But that's the only real frustration I have with the MBT-B. The mobility on it's pretty solid. The upper plate armor at least bounces a decent amount. Lower plate gets chunked, but what doesn't? It can side scrape at times as well, but you've got to be careful of not taking shots here. But generally, it's just a pretty damn flexible tank. The gun handling on it's really nice. The DPM's pretty good. It's got 430 alpha, which is nice. You've got great view range, which helps you to get amazing spotting damage games at times. And on the whole, it's just a pretty damn solid tank to pick up for a tier 10 American premium heavy tank. And like I say, I fully enjoy playing this vehicle whenever I take it out. And it's just a different option to something like the E5, right? But yeah. The MBT-B, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Again, fairly similar to what I've run on the other two tanks, to be fair, but these are my fairly standard heavy tank crews, and that is Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Rapid Aim. Rapid Aim makes the turret traverse better so that it gets better than the tracks, so that I can snap the gun on target way quicker. All three gun perks, especially because I'm not running the gun stabilizer, to make sure that this gun is as good as possible. And even without the gun stabilizer, the gun on this vehicle is still fantastic. Track mechanic again, because I do get stuck into those brawly locations with this vehicle. And then in terms of the equipment, I run the advanced loader, the vents, and the optics to be able to get the best out of the DPM and the view range, just so I can go spotting for myself really easily. But this tank has such good view range that you could quite easily drop optics and run something else like the traction system. Advanced armor mixed in with armor angling to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank by 10%. Maybe a powertrain just to give it a little extra oomph in the engine. It's really down to you and how you feel comfortable playing this vehicle. I just like making everything about the tank better with vents. But again, vents is one that you could quite easily drop if you wanted to, and you still have good view range. It is what it is. I just like running that because it basically helps the tank and gives it everything, essentially. So in terms of the armor, like I say, this is one of those tanks that, if you're head-on like this, you'll bounce a good amount off this upper plate section. Premium rounds from high-pen TDs will go through these little sections here like that, there, but they tend to butcher everything anyway. But you can still get lucky and ricochet shots off of that. Lower plate gets chunked all the time. If you're shooting at this thing, you want to shoot at the lower plate quite easily, as you will go through that. The turret armor is really good on this vehicle until they shoot this section here. So as you can see, their little machine gun port thing that's here, that you can see physically modelled, isn't actually there, which means it's an armor black hole. When people shoot at you, they can shoot straight through that thing and hit this really flat section of armor here. So as you can see, if we find the right one, that armor plate there is 240mm of thickness, and it is completely flat. So if you shoot this little section here, and you can see where it juts out, you will be able to pen that with 250, 260 pen quite easily. And the ammo rack is also sitting behind that on the MBT-B, which means it gets ammo racked a lot through that section of the turret. So that's one way to take this vehicle out when it's hulled down. Shoot it straight through there, and you will go through it most of the time with 260, 270 pen. And especially if you're at tier 9 or 10 firing premium, you will go through that most of the time. Obviously, you'll occasionally catch the gun mantlet, so you've got to be careful of that, as especially heat rounds will get absorbed by it. But if you avoid the gun mantlet, you will go through it. So that's one way to take out this tank. And especially if this tank's trying to side scrape it as well, and you see it poking around the corner, if it exposes this little corner here, that's where you can shoot on the MBT-B with, especially, again, 230 plus pen, and you'll most likely go through it. But you've got to be careful depending on the angle that it does end up showing that. And in terms of the modules, that's where the engine bay is. Again, for the vehicle, it's got 20% internal fire chance, which means it sets on fire all the time because it's the high end of fire chances. And especially if you get penned in the rear, goodbye fires. Yeah, every time. That's where the ammo racks are. Big ammo rack blocks in the back of the turret, which means it gets ammo racked a lot through the back of the turret. And if you get tracked and penned through the right or left, again, you're likely to have your ammo rack damaged in this tank, which can be an absolute pain for MBT-B. Let's get into the statistics of the MBT-B, and as you can see, you've got a 40 km/h top speed with a 15 km/h reverse speed, a 1000 horsepower engine, which is 16.67 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit 40 km/h top speed. It does feel a little bit sluggish sometimes, and that's because the ground resistances, especially on soft, are pretty poor, which is why I'm saying you're more likely to take something like the powertrain to be able to get not the extra top speed, but the extra oomph in the engine just to make it feel a little bit less sluggish. 20% internal fire chance, like I say, high end of fire chances, it likes to get set on fire. 34 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means that it does turn its tracks pretty quickly. And since you've got a 34.89 degrees a second turret traverse, your turret traverse is also as quick as your tracks, which can be quite nice. 2.35 soft terrain resistance with a 1.17 medium terrain resistance and a 0.99 firm resistance means that the terrain resistance for this vehicle are not the best and can hold it back and make it feel that little bit more sluggish than it needs to be on certain terrains. So again, you might want to take the off-road driving instead of the turret traverse just to help the mobility and feel that little bit less sluggish. It's really down to you. 550 meters of view range is insane. Especially for a heavy tank, that is absolutely unbelievable view range and means you get absolutely fantastic spotting damage games, especially on maps like Mali and Proc, because you can spot for yourself really, really easily. And especially the super stealthy tanks, you devalue their camo massively with having view range like that, which is why I do it. It's absolutely overkill, possibly not that necessary, but I like having that, which is why I say you could quite easily drop optics to run something like the powertrain or the traction system or advanced armor or something like that, because you don't need it. It's a bit superfluous, but at the same time, it's nice to have. But it's down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the vehicle. 0.5 accuracy during rotation is really good. With a 1.41 accuracy during movement, that is also really good as a pair. It means the aim circle doesn't bloom out much at all, and the circle does not become that large on the MBT-B. And that's without a gun stabilizer. The general gun handling on this vehicle is very, very nice. And especially since you have a 1.81 second aim time and a 0.27 accuracy at 100 meters, the gun handling on this tank is just really, really good. And for saying we've not taken a gun stabilizer and stuff like that, that is really nice. And it's a massive asset for the MBT-B. 10 degrees of gun depression is incredibly flexible on a ridgeline. Again, it's very, very nice. It kind of is where this tank wants to be. It wants to be on the ridgeline, not exposing too much of its hull. Trying to not expose the section of the turret as well that can actually be penned. Go hull down, and then just start smashing away with this 120mm gun that has a 7.04 second reload, which is 3.6k DPM, which is really nice. 265 penetration on the standard AP is great, with 330 penetration on the premium heat rounds. Again, absolutely fantastic. Goes through pretty much everything you're going to face. With 90mm of penetration on the standard HE rounds as well for 540 Alpha. That is, again, great for going through artillery and the lightly armoured vehicles. 430 Alpha on the standard rounds as well for a 120mm gun is also great. It's higher than average at 400. Yeah, we'll take it. 1200 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP as well is also very good for a standard AP rounds. And the heat rounds have 1000 meters a second, which is bang average, meaning you do have to give a little bit of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets in this MBT-B. But the 1200 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP is really, really nice. But just bear in mind that when you switch from AP to heat or HE, you will feel the difference in that shell velocity. And again, tier 10 premium, so it doesn't really have any bonuses whatsoever on this tank. But like I say, a lot of people will know about the MBT-B because there's a lot of them always about. A lot of people got it for free last year. Was it the year before? Last year, right? And it's, you know, it's one of those tanks that it's fairly easy to know the weak spots, and it's fairly obvious where the weak spots are in terms of the lower plate and stuff like that. But the one thing that you have to know is that this here isn't modelled, and if you shoot it, if you aim for that little light, essentially, when this thing is looking at you, you will shoot through it into the turret and you'll pen it, especially if you're tier 9 or 10 firing standard or premium. But that's something to bear in mind. So what I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch the MBT-B in action, see how it handles, see if it's a bit of you or not, and yeah, enjoy the replays. So as always, everybody, I'll see you there. So here we are in the replays with the MBT-B, and we're on this map, which is Hidden Village. And on Hidden Village, we want to push to the position at G4, so we can go hull down there and try and shoot people as they come up the H line. You can get some easy shots. You can also brawl on that corner there as well quite easily. The problem with this position is you can quite easily get caught out and outnumbered if your team don't push it up with you, which can be super duper frustrating because the amount of teams that will just go and sit back at that rock position that my team has stopped now is a lot. And it can really give up the impetus that you can have in this fight because you want everybody to basically be up at this ridge, fighting in the hull down positions, fighting on that corner, and then you can progress up the flank. If you end up having too many people sit at the back, you just lose the flank and it doesn't go too well. But if you have someone positioned in the right place like we are in this game, you can end up turning the tide of the fight as well. So we're currently in a fight with an E5, our American tier 10 brethren, who is firing heat. So I'm trying to actually, because if he's firing heat, it'll go through my plate. I'm trying to give him my side. Why? That reason. He ends up getting his heat round absorbed by my tracks, and he tracks me in place, but he doesn't pen me. And we managed to finish him off, putting us up to 2.1k damage. And we also had 1 or 2 other shots from him absorbed with his heat shells too. So we're in the perfect position to now get shots into the 60 TP and the heavy tank as they're crossing. I can stay hulled down here. Sadly for me, I am exposing the one part of my turret that means he can pen me there if he wants to. But thankfully he's not shown that. If their team decides to be aggressive, they could quite easily come up behind me and start shooting me, and I would be dead, and then they can push up and be more aggressive. And realistically, their team had to be a lot more aggressive than they are being in this replay. But we actually managed to bounce the heat round of the 60 TP there, and we are keeping him permanently tracked. Now, we're going to go for that lower plate shot, which firing down on with AP, we're not really going to pen, so we load the 330 heat pen, so we can guarantee the kill on this guy. But as he's going by, we end up hitting the gun of the E5, meaning that we didn't quite finish off the 60 TP there, and he inadvertently saved him. So we're going to come over, put the shot into the side of the turret of the E5, finish him off, wait for the reload so that we can hopefully shut down the 60 TP as well, which we do, securing our 3rd kill of this game, up to 4.3k damage, and thankfully my team has started to move up. So we've got a chieftain on the corner that I don't really want to get into a knife fight against in an MBT-B, and we're going to go see if there's anything else on this corner, and in fact there is. There's a Felice. So we get a shot straight through the lower plate of the Felice. We bounce the chieftain off our turret there, and what I want to do is get rid of this Felice if I can, and then I can pressure the chieftain. But in fact, this chieftain is on the corner. We get a shot through his lower plate. He bounces, but I really need my T-57 Heavy to come and help me, who is behind me. So I see where the T-57 Heavy is going, and I'm like, okay, he's going to help me. He's going to drive around the corner, get up behind this guy, and auto-load him. And then we can tag-team him, because I can't get into a knife fight with this guy. If I go low, he will just out-DPM me, and he will kill me. So I'm like, help me! Oh no, everyone's left. Maybe the TD will come and help me, right? Right? Oh no, what I should have done here is, because I hesitate and stay, I should run away. I should run away and go and join the rest of my team and get into a better position, because I'm currently in a position where artillery can shoot me. I don't want to get into that knife fight with the chieftain because he wins DPM wars really easily. He has more HP than me, which means he wins in the HP front. So this is just now really awkward since I've just been left alone. So I pull back. Sadly, artillery hits me. And at this point, I go, I really need to run away. So we're trying to swivel. But sadly, the chieftain takes that as the chance to go. And he ends up shutting us down. And we just, yeah, we get killed in the end. But we still finished the game with a pretty damn nice total there for the MBT-B. We're finished with the victory. The 3 kills, 5.1k damage, 1481 base XP, and to be honest, that showed off the tank in that sort of brawly situation where we end up being in a fairly poor situation, but we still managed to make the most of it. It's just a sad time that in the end there, if we just had a little bit more help, we'd have been alright, but we kind of ended up getting left behind, and then we were stuck against a tank that is superior, because the Chieftain is superior to this vehicle in the fact that his turret is just better than us, his gun handling is better than us, his DPM is better than us, his penetration is better than us, he's just a better tank. But, and I didn't want, I was basically frightened of the Chieftain. I didn't want to get stuck into a knife fight where he was going to have all the advantages, but there we go. So we're on to the final replay of this video. Well played to you if you've managed to get this far, or maybe you've skipped to the MBT-B because you want to see just what this tank is about, not the other two. And the final replay, we're going to have just the same as the Nemesis MBT. We're going to have a pretty damn nice game here on Himmelsdorf. We're up to 856 damage so far. We've managed to get a blind fire into Mr. Griller 15. So, we know that there's a Griller 15 on that corner. We know he poked out when he was unspotted last time. If I get spotted, I'm likely going to be getting shot at by something on that corner. So we're going to take, every time the detected signal goes off, we're going to take a blind fire on that corner, because the tank will be there and we might get some free damage. Again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we may as well just chance it. Sadly, I didn't hit 2 of those shots because we didn't hit what it was, because they weren't on that corner. They actually advanced a bit further out than they were. But we've come to this corner now to see if we can side scrape out, try and get some shots at the Cobra or at this 4005. So we get a shot onto the 4005, which doesn't actually pen him, but it does track him, and we get 193 assistance damage for it. But we pop another blind shot, and he has moved off. I don't really want to fight a 4005, if I'm honest, on this corner. We can spot him easily every time he does decide to poke round. But at the minute, I'm not really doing anything on this corner. And with the AAT-60 now moving off of the position I was at a second ago, I decided, okay, you know what? I want to go back to look through this little position so I can try and blind fire either the Waffle Panzer IV that was back there or the Griller 15. So we poke over, spot the Waffle Panzer IV as he fires. The shot goes high. I said everything about how good this gun was, right? No, apparently not. The shot goes high and we missed the shot on that Waffle Panzer IV. But again, I'm going to sit and wait. The moment I get spotted, the moment I get detected and that detector goes off, his gun is looking at me, I'm taking the blind fire. Why? Because we penned that Waffle Panzer IV blind, because it was quite obvious that that was exactly what he was going to do. We're detected again, which makes me think the grill is now poking out. So I put a blind fire out, but, well, we don't hit it. And we're just going to keep poking out. And in fact, the Grill 15 had actually gone into the centre of that path and not on either corner like I was expecting, because the majority of the time, people will just go sit on the corners like the Waffle Panzer IV did, which makes it an easier shot. But there we go. We seem to be losing the hill, or in fact we are losing the hill, so we poke into a position to try and get some shots into the side of the T-57 Heavy and that heavy tank that's there, which is a 257. Now on this corner, I'm going to be poking out as quickly as possible and snapping the shots. I don't want to be sitting here for too long, because if I sit here for too long, it gives them easy shots down on us, and we don't want to lose too many hit points at this point. So we get a shot through the upper plate of the 257, because if you're shooting at a 257 and his upper plate is unangled like that, it's actually an easier shot to pen than his side. We bounce the T-57 Heavy again. If we can get rid of this guy, that would be great. We take a hit from him, but we put a shot through him in return. The 257 has managed to get himself safe. Oh, can we get a shot into... We can't quite find the shot into that 257, but the shot through the upper plate there of the 257. There's a lot of 7s being said here. 777. 777. In fact, there's no 777. It's a 257 or a T-57 Heavy, okay? Get it right. So again, we're being as clutch as possible. We're not giving them an easy shot. We're trying to just bait them into getting spotted, poking out. And in fact, we take a hit from the 257 there, but we did get a shot into his lower plate, which makes him a one-shot. T-57 Heavy's in a better position for us to shoot, and we finish him off. Thank God. The medium tank did track us, but didn't pen us. Again, I'm detected, so I'm fully expecting it is the T-57 unspotted. But we managed to snap a shot into the CS-59 there. And Mr. 257, can we get a sneaky shot in to shut him down? No, as we ricochet off his upper plate. But with that kind of angle there, that was the best it was going to be. And E4's at... Oh, okay, don't shoot me, Mr. E4. I'm quite glad you didn't know I was here. I'm going to back up so I can get better angling on my armor. I was trying to retrack him so that he couldn't turn his turret towards me. We'll get ourselves back safe behind the corner, behind this rubble pile, which means he could only see my turret. He bounces his AP round. He's down to a one-shot, and we finish him off with the shot there through his lower plate. Now there's just a Centauro in front of us. I want to go get rid of this Italian tier 10 medium tank as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to possibly take the shot to shut him down. And in fact, we managed to fire first, meaning we don't get finished off by him. We're up to 6,046 damage. Bit blocked. We know there's a Griller 15 at the end of the road. And so I'm just going to poke out and see if he's around that corner. And as soon as I get detected, again... same principle as earlier, and we get the cheeky blind fire to shut down the Griller 15. As soon as that detected went off, I knew where he'd be, so we took the blind fire, and thankfully, we finished him off. We know the Teeth Breaker's coming down the track, so hello, Mr. Teeth Breaker. Good night, Mr. Teeth Breaker. We finished off the Teeth Breaker there with a shot, securing our 5th kill of this game, up to 6.2k damage. There's 3 tanks left, 2 heavy tanks, which we know is a 257 on the hill, and this Rogal Dawn, and the artillery. It's now a 3v1. We have to get rid of this Rogal Dawn as quickly as possible. Now, when you're shooting at a Rogal Dawn like this, you have to shoot the lower plate, but on the highest section of the lower plate, exactly where I'm shooting here, because that is where it is at its weakest. As the lower down you shoot, the more angled it becomes, and the more likely you are to ricochet. And we managed to get those heat shells straight through his lower plate and finish off Mr. Rogal Dawn. There's only 2 tanks left, the artillery and the 257. I'm fully expecting the 257 to still be on the hill, but in fact, there he is! Oh my lord, thank God, he bounces his heat shell off our upper plate, and we snap the shot in, securing our 7th kill of this game. That was very lucky. I thought the 257 might still be on the hill, but apparently not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feint like I'm going down this road, because I expect the artillery is still in their base, or on the train track position at K2. So I want to feint that way and then go down this way. So he's not expecting me to come round from the 3 line if he is sitting in his base. We've got the HE loaded because we've got 90mm of penetration that will go through, and 540 alpha is lovely. And oh my goodness me, he's there. We hit him with the HE on the move, which tracked him and penned him, and thankfully he misses his snap, and we secure the kill for our 8th kill of this game. I didn't expect the artillery to just be there. And he clearly did not expect me to be driving down that road either. And we secure our 8th kill of that game. 8 kills, 7.8k damage, 4.3k block. The Radley Walters, Devastator, High Caliber, the Ace Tanker, the Steel Wall, the Top Gun for 1964 base XP. A really fantastic game for the MBT-B. Again, showing off what it's capable of. It is a really nice tank to play, to be perfectly honest with you. I really like the MBT-B. And you can have a very good time with it. And that game was just mental. It was one of those that it just kind of went for us in the end, and we'll take it. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!